The mayor of Buffalo has announced sweeping police reforms just days after an elderly protester was shoved to the ground by police and then hospitalized, an incident that has since drawn national attention. Right now, I'm joined by the mayor of Buffalo, Byron Brown. Mayor, this has been quite a week for you. The president has thrown around conspiracy theories about that man, a 75-year-old protester. What are your impressions of the incident?
Mr. Gugino was a peaceful protester. We don't want to be distracted from the reform agenda. The community is calling for change. We've been meeting with members of our community all week. Yesterday, we began the first part of sweeping reforms in the city of Buffalo. We call it the Buffalo Reform Agenda. It's informed by members of our community. And we will be working diligently with our community to continue the reform process. What we announced yesterday, I look at as a first chapter in a novel that we are writing in the city of Buffalo. In the coming days, weeks, and months, we will continue to roll out reforms aimed at eliminating racial injustice and police brutality.
You can't enact those sweeping changes without trust in the community. Police initially said that protester tripped and fell. He wasn't shoved. It wasn't until video came out that we learned he was shoved. Do you believe that you were deliberately misled by your police force?
I do not. It was a very fluid situation, a lot of information coming in. The police management was in a separate command center getting information from the field. That was the initial information that came in. It was wrong. As soon as police got the correct information, they put that out. The police commissioner took immediate action, suspended both officers involved without pay, and I am glad and was supportive of the immediate action that the police commissioner took. In Buffalo, we take professional policing very seriously. We want our police officers to treat all of our residents with respect and dignity. And the reforms that we worked on with the community over the past week begin that. We are writing our own story. We have a good community, a great community. We're known as the city of good neighbors. That video was a snapshot in time. It was a wrong action. It shouldn't have occurred. And we are working hard to make sure that things like what you saw on that video, which also was pretty horrific to me when I saw it, don't happen again in the city of Buffalo.
Then what you are sharing is constructive and it's excellent news. But after that moment in time, we then saw 57 colleagues of those officers step off the job in protest, not with the community. They had time to absorb and understand what happened, and still they didn't stand with the community. They stood with reprehensible behavior. What does that tell you about a community that you had said before the incident you thought had a pretty good relationship?
Those 57 officers resigned from the emergency response team under threat from the Police Benevolent Association. The police union actually threatened dues-paying members of the union that if they continued to perform their duties as members of that unit, they would not get the support of the police union. It was a reprehensible threat. It was a horrible threat, and that is why those officers resigned from that unit.
Wow. So what are you going to do about the police union? What are you going to do? Or is there something you can do?
Well, change is upon us. The people are speaking in Buffalo and Western New York, across the state, nation, and world that they want to see reforms to our systems. They want to see reforms that end racial injustice. They want to see reforms that end police brutality. I am calling on everyone in the city of Buffalo that that wants reform to join us in this process. I'm calling on the police union to be partners in this process. In the past, the Buffalo Police Union has been a barrier to reform, but this is a new day. This is a day when the people are saying that things must change. They must change now. And we want the union to be a part of that. We're calling on them to be a part of that. And all right-minded people that want to be a part of this reform agenda, now is the time for them to get on board.
Wow. Then what has your buy-in been from the police department? And how does that compare to the police union? Because regular people like me don't necessarily know the difference between the two.
The buy-in from the police department, from the police management, has been absolutely excellent. Before the events that we are seeing now in Buffalo, across the nation, across the world, we had enacted many reforms. The police management is committed to continuing to work with the community to implement additional reforms. The sweeping Buffalo reform agenda that I rolled out yesterday with Free the People Western New York Coalition and many other members of our community was fully endorsed, worked on, and supported by our police management in the city of Buffalo, with consultation from other law enforcement entities as well. So even in law enforcement in Buffalo and Western New York, there is a strong push to change. There is allyship around the need to change, and that has been very gratifying to see that members of law enforcement and our Buffalo police management want to be part of the change that people are calling for.
Quickly, before we go, White House press secretary had said that protester may have made profanity-laced tweets, comments against the police department. Would that matter? The conduct and dignity of the police department should rise above anything like that.
Doesn't matter at all. We don't want to see any member of our community injured, which is why one of the reforms I announced yesterday was to create a public protection unit that will work with individuals in our community that want to peacefully protest, and to ensure that those individuals that peacefully are protesting in our community are safe. We have a lot of protests all the time in Buffalo and Western New York, always peaceful. You never hear about them because they are so peaceful. We want to make sure that that is always the case and that peaceful protesters in Buffalo are protected. But there is never a cause for violence of any type against members of our community. And we are working hard to make sure that what we saw with Mr. Gugino never happens again to another resident of the city of Buffalo.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.